Niklesh is calling.
Yeah, we are pretty late already.
It's okay.
I might have to just start.
हाँ स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं अभी आज थोड़ा लेट हो गया स्टार्टिंग इन 2 minutes
Album sejak kalau saya.
Okay, so
Gini kan?
sure.
just go to wait, go here go to India so you can focus and get my bread. So if it is not fully done also, if you realize that it's not done, you can leave it for 2-3 minutes, no problem. You have enough time. But you focus your...
Go down in around 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
Nanti lah sudah.
then I'll check.
You can reduce the... Don't decrease the temperature, you can always reduce the temperature for 5 degree, 2-3 minutes more. Who will do like this?
Aku sejak kalau saya tidak tak.
Sharma.
Mengucapkan salam khas.
To the check, all the bits are there. I need a scraper. Scraper. I need a... In my hand also, by the time you come, I will talk and in my hand. Yeah, just give me some second to... Can you just chop? Ready? You need water. Water it is. A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Niklesh. I'm so sorry today for the demo. It's a little bit late, but we are here right now. You know, we will be doing a little demo about how to make our bread or a milk loaf in a very specific way. But before making the milk loaf, I'd like to talk to you about a little about how to make a bread. What exactly is the concept of making a bread? A lot of time people ask us questions, different questions. My bread is not coming out good, or what are the role of different ingredients? So I thought, why not before we make a bread, we talk something about bread. And I will be actually making this bread by hand, and also will be using the machine, so it's a little bit more easy for you to understand it. Rule number one, we have a couple of ingredients here, or maybe I'll show it to them first. Yeah. We have flour, yeast, salt and water. If you see in the recipe, I didn't put water, but I put water here. I'll tell you what exactly is the reason for that. We have eggs, milk, we have sugar, and some topping, could be sesame or poppy seeds or some almond flakes. Now, question number one. We can actually make a bread using only 4 ingredients, which is your flour, yeast, salt and water. Now, the flour, there are 3 types of flour. One is a strong flour. A strong flour is something when you call it which has a high gluten percentage. Okay, weaker flour is that where the or a soft flour is something where the gluten percentage is not so much, and we use a soft flour or a flour with low gluten one only to make cakes or sponges, because it doesn't have to be chewy. It has to be very simple, and and it has to melt in the mouth. So rule number one, when you make a bread or any bread, the flour have to be a flour which has more gluten, okay, or a strong flour. So this is a strong flour. Second is the yeast. Now in this case, if you try to have a look, I'm using a dry yeast. There could be fresh yeast also, let's say example. Now when you use a dry yeast, a simple way is that 1 gram of dry yeast is equal to about 2.5 gram, okay, of a fresh yeast. So when you're using, let's say example, 10 gram of the dry yeast, if you don't have a dry yeast, if you're using a fresh yeast, instead of 10 gram of this, you have to take about 25 gram of the fresh yeast. Third is the salt, which is to control the taste, to control the fermentation. Okay, and fourth is the water. Water is most important because it acts as a binding agent, but also it is actually helpful, or any kind of liquid is actually helpful in making the gluten. The gluten, or which is the protein part of the flour, is not directly or as it is present in the flour. You have gliadin and glutenin, which are the 2 components. When this one mix up with water and you knead it, okay, you mix it by hand or by using a machine, then the gluten form. Okay, but in this recipe, because we are not making a simple bread, we are making something rich, I will not be using the water. So I'll be using, instead of water, I'll be using milk. Now the question is that when you know that only 4 ingredients are required to make a bread, it's very important for you to know what kind of bread actually do you want to make. Now in this case, let's say example, I want to make a bread which is more softer, which is a little bit more sweeter, which has a little bit of milky taste, richer in flavor. So I know that part. I will be using some ingredients. I will take some sugar into that. Okay, this sugar in this case will act not only as a food for the yeast, but it also give a little tenderness to the dough. I will come back to you about that. And I will also be using the egg. When I take an egg, I will take the whole egg, I'll break it down, mix it, and then I will be weighing my eggs. I don't go for 1 egg or 2 eggs. I'll always go over the grams, so that whichever country you are, whatever type of eggs you're using, whatever the size of the egg is, that the weight of the egg has to be more important. And then last is the butter. Now if you try to have a look, we have flour, we have yeast, we have salt, we have sugar, we have milk, we have butter, okay, and we have eggs. When I use the butter, some people use melted butter, some people use a soft butter. I try to use a little bit of soft butter. I don't try to take too much of a soft, but I try to mash it with myself. Okay, now let's just start with this one out. In order to make it more easy, what I'll do is that I try to make it by hand to make you understand. I can directly put it in the machine, but I thought why not we use it out. Can you give me a scraper from that side in case you have it out? Or let's say example, this is my flour. You know, when you make a bread, it's very simple. It's not too difficult, only till you understand the part. Right. The plastic one, it is there. Okay, I just make a little bit of a kind of a thing. I put my yeast into that part. I take my sugar into that one. I mix it nicely. I take my milk. Okay, can you see this now? That's okay, no problem, no problem. It's very easy. All what I'm doing is that I'm just scraping it out. I'm taking my flour into that part. You have a scraper, you can do that part. Even when you use a machine, it's the same thing. When you use a machine, it's actually work out the same part. So what I'm saying, I'm binding it out. Okay? You have to understand that I have not taken my eggs up till now. Is there a plastic? There must be a plastic scraper. It's okay, no problem. I will take it once. So what do you see right now? I'm trying to bind it together. There's some part which is still left out, but you have to understand that I have still some eggs with me. And have still some milk with me. It's very easy to make this dough in the machine, but because most of you guys are watching it at home, so I thought why not we start something very simple and easy first, so that you can understand what's going on. You try to see, I can always take it out. Okay. I'm actually stretching it slowly, okay, but right now my main thing is that I'm binding this dough. Okay. It's the same thing what your machine does it right now. If you try to see, my dough has everything is, the dough has actually taken every part of it. The table is nice clean. It's not that it's a dirty table. It's like when you're making a cake or a sponges. Okay, see, if you try to see what I did, my table is nicely clean. So this is what I got. If I try to stretch it out, it's breaking right now. Can you see? Because the gluten is not formed. Now, if you want to make it home, you can continue with that part, but you have the butter also. In this case, because we're doing a live demo, this is where I start using the machine. Maybe I'll show you the machine a little bit more closer so that at least you can have a look in this part out. Put that in the machine. Put it in the machine. So I'll use this one. Now, since you know that part, let's try to have a look about this dough. Now, we can have some people there and a plastic set. See, if you see the stretchability is coming, but it's still breaking up, right? Okay, fine, but it's much better. I have my butter with me. I'm not adding all the butter, but I can try and start adding my butter slowly into this one. I want the consistency of the butter to be exactly like in this part that I'm having right now. If you want to increase the speed, you can increase the speed of your dough right now. If you try to know that I have not added my salt into this right now. Salt I'll be adding later on, but first I try to have a look. If you ever feel at this moment of time that some of the butter is on the side, you can always put the butter in the pot. You can scrape it down, but that's not important. Main thing is that this butter or this has to be mixed up properly into the pot. If you see this now, it's actually now, you know, the gluten was firm earlier, not be too strong. But right now what it's doing is that the butter is starting giving a little effect. It is tenderizing the gluten, or it's softening the gluten or breaking the gluten, and the dough is getting again into the soft part. But once this dough will get softer, when you keep on doing it, you keep on mixing it, the butter or this dough will get softer, but again will start collecting together. That means there will be gluten formation, but it will be a more softer gluten formation. Are we able to see this, right? So let's try to see this dough right now, what's going on. Okay. We close it down. Before we see this part, I want you guys to understand what's going on with this part. Okay. It's very important to you to know this dough right now. I got it. See, can you see this one right now? So I will scrape it out because maybe some of the butter is actually on the side. Okay. Some of the butter is actually in the side. If you see this dough is getting softer, but it'll take some time right now to make this dough. Making the dough is very important, because if you don't understand the basic of making a dough, then whatever you make, your bread will not come out good. The understanding of making a dough is very, very important for any good baker. At this stage, I will be adding my salt also. If you try to see now, the dough is getting collected. Can you see this now? It takes the sides right now. The bowl is getting cleaner. That means the gluten is actually forming. It's coming together, and when it's coming together, what happens? All the fat which is around this. Can you see this right now? All the fat which is around the ball is coming out. At this moment of time, it's too early to check the gluten part, but I would like to scrape it. You know, some of the fat which is on the top part. Or even if you want to have a look, you can just take a dough. Okay, you can take a dough, put it right in around that part. But I want to have a look how this dough looks like right now. See. Whichever way you like to stretch your dough, whichever way you like to stretch your dough, you can do like this way. People use different ways, but what I want to know is this one. See now, it's breaking, right? And if you also try to see, the dough is not very smooth or homogeneous because it's too early. Even if you try to do by hand, That's an example. You can do by hand. You can use both the hand. That's the reason I want to use machine and hand both, so that you can understand that how to make the dough, how to grow it out. And it's very easy. What I'm doing, I'm just stretching it. I'm putting it back. I stretch it, put it back. So there's nothing wrong that you have to make it out. Okay? And I put it back in the machine so that it will be more faster. Main thing for you guys is to understand the entire way that how you check your dough. Now you can check your dough, how is it coming up together. Okay. Okay, now we got it. If you try to see this now, I found this dough. You try to see this dough now. This dough is much smoother, much better. But because of the butter, of course, it'll take some time for you to work it out. I will take about 2 or 3 minutes more. Okay, then I rest this dough out. I think my dough is perfectly ready as of now. This is what I do. Now this is the perfect way. I got my little gluten. I don't want. It's coming nicely. It's perfectly fine right now. The stretchability is coming out. This is not, as I say, it's not a hard roll dough. Okay. We have weighing scale. Now, when you make this dough, the good part is that you can actually leave it for some time in order to chill or to get some kind of a rest. So what I'm going to do is that I put this thing for about few minutes, let's say example, in a chiller, so that the butter which is there inside, because of, when you're putting something in the machine, there's a lot of friction, a lot of heat is there, the dough is trying to get softer. It's perfectly fine right now. But if you see, this dough is perfectly good right now, okay, and I will give it for some rest, but I can also divide it exactly for what I'm going to make. Now, can you just pass me out? I have this bread or this bread loaf. Now, I exactly doesn't know what is the size of this one or this one. Okay, normally when we work in a bakery, we exactly know, okay, this can take how much of the dough. And in this case, let's say example, I don't know. And people say my bread is coming out of the loaf, or something is going on out. So the main thing is that what exactly you want to make. I have a couple of shapes right now. Okay, I make it for you. This is one of the shape, let's say example, and this is one of the shape. So let's try to work out how do we get these two kind of shapes. I left it out to show you exactly. I made this dough a couple of hours back, I think 2 hours back, and I was waiting for you guys to see that exactly what you mean by proving. We will talk about that a little bit later, but if in case you want to see what is the shape I'm trying to get, let me look at this one. This is a big one. I will take my total weight of the dough first. The weight of my dough is 750 grams. So exactly I know that if I'm making 150 gram of a kind of a bread, I will get only 5 number of that. If I'm making 50 gram, then 750 gram divided by 50. So let's say example, I take something about 100 gram. There is something called as bulk proofing. If in case you want to bulk proof the dough, you take this dough, you leave it for about half an hour, 45 minutes, punch it back, and again make a ball shape. Because we're doing a live demo, so I don't have much time, but I can exactly show you what I'm going to make out of that. Now, if you try to have a look, this is what I got. Remember I told you, okay, this is what I got. I got my 7 pieces. My dough was 750, so I have some extra with me. I have a tray, something like that. Any small tray, any tray is there. So if you try to see the look, any small tray is fine. Yep. Okay. Just give you a tray. What I'm going to do is that I leave it for some resting for 5 seconds. Yeah, bring the glass please. That one, the white one. Yeah. Let's talk about this one. Okay. For a few seconds. So this is one bread. Let's say example. If I have to make a bread like this, all what I have to do is that 1, 2, 3. If I have to set something like this, but if you look at the size of this, maybe I need something like 6 pieces of this. Okay, but I'll show you how to do that part. But in case, let's say example, you want to use, you want to make something else out of that, you can actually make a smaller version, let's say example, if you want to do that part. But in case you want to make it more longer, all you have to do is something like this. It's up to you what exactly you want to make out of this one. But please make sure wherever you shape, you want to shape a longer or you want to make a round one. If in case you want to make a longer shape again, you have to give a little rest to this dough. Okay, so right now I try to work it out in this part. Okay, yeah, I think just give me the dough, please. The freezer one. When I take this one, even though, let's say example, if this is let's say example, even it's a non-stick one, okay, you can use it exactly, you can just brush it with a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick. But if it's a non-stick which doesn't have a non-stick one, you have to brush it either with the oil or with the butter, melted butter, whichever one is that, but you have to do that part. Okay, if you don't do that, what will happen? This bread has so much of moisture inside, it will actually stick to the side of the pie. So if I take this one out now, the dough is a little bit nice right now for me to work out. This is exactly what I'm looking right now. But this is in case you want to make this bread. Now you understand this part right now? When you put it in the loaf, you do not have to put it together. You keep some gap so that, you know, it's working out very nice in that case. Now, in case, now we're looking at this one. Okay, how to get this one? Let's try it. We'll go for this one. This one. Now the question is that, remember we talk about, I don't know the size of this one. Okay, how do I know that? Okay, I just pick up 100 gram, but whether I know that, whether it's fixed up or not. So let's try to have a look whether this is fixing up into this part or not. Now if I look at this one, see, when I try to put the second one, it's not fitting. Can you see? It's not fixing up, right? So I know that, okay, if I have to put 6 of this, I may have to reduce the weight of that part. So out of this 100, either you can take, let's say example, 20 gram of that. Since my balls are there, let's say example, I already take out a little bit more, or maybe I take out a little bit more of this. So what I'm doing, I'm actually reducing them. You have to use your own way to understand whether this is fixing up or not, because maybe you don't have this mold at home. Then what will you do? So now, let's say example, I take the weight of this one. So I took about 70 gram of this. This is a little bit lesser, so we'll add some into that. Yeah. For the other ones, I will still use it out and tell you what I'm going to do with that part. So now, I got this one. I got this one. Just to get a clean up out of that. Now let's try to fix it. This is much better. Remember, it's a bigger mold. I'm not going to bake it, let's say example, I'm not going to bake it like that. Okay, so I keep a little kind of a thing. You can always flatten it in the starting so that they're not too far to each other, and then it work out. Okay. If you try to see this one, I'm not throwing any of my dough, I'm just trying to see that whether it can mix up. You have to use your own imagination that what size of bread you actually want. I have 4 pieces right now. Use 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, once you do that part, if you try to have a look, once you do that part, you see that the mold is too big. This thing out, it will take time to prove. And this is something I make this dough, I work it out, but I didn't prove it. What exactly I'm looking at right now. This is the bread which is actually right now proved. Rob, just give me a small tray, please. If it's there right now. A smaller tray there, yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Give me that also, please. I have 2 more bread right now. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to show you actually what exactly is when you say proving a bread. I put in a cling wrap, so I thought why not show you all different ways how to work out. So this is stage 1 when you're working it out. Can you see this part now? Okay, you put 6. Okay, this is the result. Okay, you put 3. This is still unbaked right now. Okay, this one I make a knotted bread kind of a thing, but it's still there right now. Now, the most easiest way is that how to check whether the bread is proved or not. It's something even if I tell you 10 times, if you don't have a feel to that, you'll not understand. But let me say, see when I try to push it, okay, if you see there is a little bit kind of a impression is there. I don't want that impression, okay? But if I push it and the impression is too deep, that means that my bread is ready to. If I try to touch my bread, but it's trying to give me a pushback, okay, that means the sponginess, okay. If I try to touch it and it's coming back very fast, very strong, that means the gluten, the structure inside is still very, very strong, okay. Very good. Okay, if I try to show you again from this part. If I try to touch it and I say, okay, it's fine, there's a kind of a thing, okay, so I know that it's coming back, but it's not coming back. See, it's coming back, but there is still an impression. That means is getting ready. So when I feel that it's not pushing too much, when I try to push this bread, if it's the more it push, I feel it's not ready. The lesser it's push, the lesser it push, the lesser it's push, is perfectly good. So try to have a look right now. See right now. My hair, because it's a new dough, but it's not even proved. But this one, if you try to have a look, you see the different stages right now. Okay. Now I have some egg wash. It's simple. I just take a break of egg and I mix it. Nothing. Some people want to take instead of egg wash, they want to take milk wash. It's perfectly fine. Just take milk and that's all. Some people take egg and milk. It's perfectly fine. Some people want to take egg and water. It's perfectly fine. It's up to you whether you want a little bit lighter kind of a what do you call it, color on the top, or you want this thing out. Whenever I bake my bread, I don't try to go my egg wash or milk wash or water wash. I don't try to go on the side, because what happens if it goes on the side, what happens, it sticks. I'm sorry. Okay. I have some mixture of black sesame seed, some poppy seed, let's say example, and some sunflower seed. But it's up to you, because it's a milk bread. If you don't want the seeds, you can use some almonds also. It's up to you. So let's say example, in this case, if I use almonds, I can use almonds. These are almond dips. You can chop it or flakes, crush the flakes. It's up to you. If you leave it some more time, it will open like that. This I left it only to show you. Okay. If I use the seeds, it's up to you. So if you try to have a look, it's actually the same kind of effect. Only difference is that in this one, because after putting the seed, I leave it for longer time, so it again start proving furthermore. So I will take a little bit of egg wash more in this case, and I can put more on my flakes. It's up to you. Understanding your oven is also very important. So now we have these 4 stages. Let's say example. Understanding your oven is very, very important, because as I say, the oven which I use in my professional kitchen or in my kitchen may not be the same oven what you're using. You have to do some kind of trial and error method kind of a thing. But for a bread like this, let's say example, for a smaller bread like this, I do not go a temperature more than about 180 degrees centigrade. Okay. Even if, let's say example, I want to bake it a darker color, maybe I can reheat, or I can preheat my oven at 200 degree. I can put my bread inside that and I further reduce it about 180. Okay. If this one is a bigger bread, I will further reduce my temperature to 170 or maybe 165 and take it for a longer time. Now, right now there are 2 breads which are only in the oven. Let's try to take it out and see how do they work out. I will try to take it out here. Okay, try to take it out here. If you see this bread, it's something like same, but it's a different kind of knot. I put it. Since these are the one which are ready to bake, I'll just use this one. Just to have a look right now, here in the spot, you have a wire mesh kind of a thing. Wire mesh is there. When I take out my bread, I do not put it in a tray. Let's say example, I can use a wire mesh, which is something like this, so that you're actually giving some kind of rest to this one. So if you see this part, the loaf was that I have taken 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but because I cover my thing with a lid, it comes like this one. But if I don't cover it, I'll have 4 pop-ups kind of a thing. This one is a plated bread. I use a plated bread first down, or braided bread, and I took a small braided bread which I put on the top of that. Okay, so that's how it worked out. And normally you don't eat a bread when it's totally fresh. You leave it for some time so that it gets settled out. Now coming back to the point right now, if you remember, first thing is that you weigh your ingredients. That means weighing of ingredients is very important. Right? In bread, let's example, if your salt is high or your sugar is high or egg is high or something is low, and that for sure somewhere down the line it will affect your dough. The quantity of ingredients is very much important because they have to be very specific in rule. Okay, then second part is that you preheat the oven, because by the time you are actually mixing up your dough, you have to preheat your oven so that when the dough is ready, okay, you can work it out. Third is that you mix your dough into small proportion by hand or by machine. That's the example, but at a slower stage. By hand anyway, when you're working out the dough with your hand, it's slower. But when you're using a machine also, the first part is that you have to actually mix up all the ingredients to make a dough. Okay, after that, once it's nicely done, then you actually have to add the butter into that. Okay, then once you stretch the gluten part of that, if in case you're not making a rich dough, that means it's without butter or without sugar or without eggs kind of a thing, I'm sure the dough is more going to be stretchable in that case. But in case of a rich dough or a milk bread kind of a thing, it will be softer dough, but yes, you will still find a gluten into that part. You have to rest the dough, knock it back to take out extra air out of that, shape the bread, proof the bread, and bake the bread. And let's try to have a look. If I bake this bread, how does it look like? I mean, okay, it's perfectly fine. There's no gap, there's no air bubbles kind of a thing. It's nice spongy kind of a thing. Okay, and this is how it is. You see nice flakes kind of a thing. I hope you enjoy the class, and I'll be more than happy if you have any question. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. This is a nice bread. I'm not going to break it, but I think this is perfectly fine. It's good, right? Nice. I can still see the flakes. Can you see the flakes? I can still see the flakes. It's melting in the mouth. It's nice, fresh bread. Perfectly fine. Thank you very much for being with me. I hope there's some kind of learning for all of you guys, but just to let you know that there will be a lot of demos every day, live demos by different chefs, which is going on every day, 2 o'clock Malaysian time or 11:30 morning India time. We'll be more than happy and appreciate in case you have any question or a doubt, or you want us to make any recipe which you guys want to learn. We'll really appreciate that part also. Thank you very much, and have a very nice evening. Is there something left out? Yeah. Also to let you know that in case you want to see these recipes, anybody have missed out the live demo, we have our YouTube channel. It's Apka Malaysia, APCA, Apka Malaysia. You can subscribe the channel and you can actually go for it. And all the recipes done before me, all the chef's recipe and all the future recipes will be there. And this is the last part. This is a thank you note for all the doctors, frontliners who are there right now helping out the patient and other people in the time of a bad time in COVID-19. We really thank you very much. Have a nice evening, guys. I want to break it and eat it also. What do you think? Hey, come on, it's done. Okay. Nice one.
Wah, banyak lagi punya siapa ni? Mana?
India.
India.
You see the flakes now? This is. I'm sorry, what happened?